Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Latisse Hudson, and in 2018, I quit my corporate job, launched my coaching business, and in less than 1 year, I hit the six-figure mark. And now I'm here to help you do it too. So each week on the podcast, I'm going to share all things money, mindset, and online marketing so you can reach more people, make more money, and do what you love from the comfort of anywhere in the world. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. It's your time to elevate. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Latisse, hello. I love every time we have conversations. So I'm honored to be here on your podcast and doing this.
Yes, me too. Y'all have to hear the story. I'll let Sarah tell it, but how she found me on social media and how we became friends. We both live here in Arizona and we're like in real life besties. So I know a lot of times we're talking to internet friends, but today we're talking to like one of my in real life besties through the internet. So Sarah, tell them the story how we met.
How I stalked you out. Yes. So Latisse and I have gotten so close, and I'll just say real quick, Latisse, remind me, and we can do it on the show, to tell you even how much more we're connected, because I've recently done some other podcast interviews from across the country. And the person was like, oh my gosh, do you know Latisse Hudson? I'm like, shit, yeah, I do. Besties. Real life besties.
I haven't heard this story yet.
I know. I forgot to tell you.
Oh, gosh.
To tell you.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was fairly new to Arizona and just trying to network, and I had a really amazing professional network. And I always will say, like, when you can build actual genuine friendships and relationships with people, that's where networking is easy, because you genuinely just want each other to succeed because you love each other. And it's not like this scripted, here's my business card, exchange referrals crap, because I can't with that. So that's how I build a network. It's true friendships. And you know what, if we're both in business too, awesome. So I was just on Instagram, just kind of looking, I think, for people that use similar hashtags to me and like people that use Arizona specific hashtags. And it's just like, where are some people out there? I know no people here. And something about, I don't know if it was, your branding used to be like this very yellow aesthetic. And I love that. It just feels so sunshiny. But
it was super bright yellow.
The aesthetic, really what started, you know, things catch your eye first. And so then I was reading some of her content on Instagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to know her. So I literally just dropped into her DMs and was like, hey, I'm in Arizona too. I see we're in somewhat, you know, similar businesses and I'd love to connect. I promise I don't have anything to sell you. I just literally want to be friends. And she was like, I mean, even if you have something to sell me, tell me about it, girl. But so she was already going to this brunch with some other business owners very shortly after that. She was like, well, just come to this brunch, join me. So I was like, yes. And I went, and you and I just like connected right out the gate. It seemed like personality wise, we have so much in common. The rest is history. We've been friends ever since. And that was
when
what,
was
2019?
Was it like into 2019, right? Somewhere in there. That's crazy. I'm like looking, well, it's 2021. What is it? August 2021 when we're filming this. So almost like 2 years of being friends. And I'm just like, I literally was just like, y'all know my whole thing is like building relationships through conversation. So I even told Sarah, I was like, yeah, if you got something to sell it anyway, because I'm here to hear. But yeah, what a beautiful like manifestation over the last couple of years.
It is. And like, I think you've taught me to adopt that same outlook. When I used to disclaim like that and say, listen, I don't have anything to sell you, I was just so familiar in networking in the past. I've been so familiar with like the MLM world. I was never in it, but I encountered it nonstop. And I would become so frustrated when I thought somebody networked the way I did. And I thought people were there to build friendships. And then like it feels like a betrayal when then you learn, oh no, they were just trying to get me to join their downline or, you know, buy something. And that's where you've taught me to kind of tweak that disclaimer, because it's totally cool if you're there to sell something, but don't pretend it's a friendship when it's not. And I'm like, I just want friends. Come be my friend.
I wanted friends too. I was like, yes, we can be friends. I need more friends at AZ. It's so hard as an adult. I've moved around a couple of times and like I don't have any kids, but I just like have moved around, and I'm like, if I had kids, I feel like it'd be a little bit different because you connect with like other moms and like things like that. But for me, I was just like, I'm just out here. So I was so happy when he reached out to me. I was like, yes, there's real people that exist
There are real
outside
people.
of Instagram and Facebook groups. So the rest has been
Yes.
history. I
Yeah.
love it. I can't wait to hear this other story offline, but I'm super curious now, like who this person is. I know a lot of people too, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear who this is.
It was
But
just, it's funny because it was a connection through my publicist in like, she's somewhere closer to the East Coast.
yeah.
So when she said, "Oh my gosh, do you know Latisse Hudson?" And it almost felt like like, have you ever met? And I'm like, oh, we're like real life friends, as in run into each other at brunch or scheduled to go to brunch.
Yeah, same thing. All over
Yeah.
this big city. I love it. I love it. So tell the people, like now that we've got our backstory out of the way, tell everybody like what you do, what you stand for, who you are. Let's hear it. Like the people need to know Sarah Dawn.
People need to know. Okay, well, right now, what I do, as I've recently told you, is I take care of me. That's that's
I'm
what I do
obsessed with
right
this.
now. But my background is I've been an attorney, I've been a business coach and consultant, I've helped people grow their businesses. And this year I've decided I've built everything I've built. I've built my own businesses and sold them. Everything I've created has been, and my message and my passion has always been creating those things along with a lifestyle you love. And I couldn't help but catch myself as I was getting more and more excited and more entrenched into my businesses that, things like I hadn't been to yoga in 3 years. And that used to be a massive part of my self care in my life. Well, now granted, it's in the summer, so I can't really blame that, but it's been several months since I've been on the mountain hiking. And that used to be a every morning occurrence. Now, granted, like you'll see, if you're not in Arizona and you're listening to this, all you have to do is like look on the weather channel and you'll see Arizona is always the hottest. So it's not
In three
exactly safe
digits
in
all
three
summer.
digits. So it's not exactly safe to go hiking in the summer, but that's a major part of my life. And some of those things were not being taken care of. And, you can't, well, you can do whatever you want, but I feel like it's not best to make major decisions for your life and your business when things feel strained or hard. That's the time to kind of muscle through, do what you need to do, get through that surge. And what I found for myself is when I was through the surge and I had created something really big, I realized that's not actually what I want in my life right now. The best thing I wanted for me right now, the boundaries, the self-care, the letting myself enjoy everything I had created professionally, was just to take a break. And so
Mm.
that's what I did.
And now she's on a break, y'all. I'm
And
so
I'm on a
excited to
break
talk
now.
about this. I'm so excited. So I'm going to share with y'all a little bit. So we scheduled this podcast. It's the second time we've rescheduled it, although we've seen each other in between, but I've had
Yeah.
other things just like come up. And between the first time we scheduled it to now, Sarah has taken and decided that essentially most of the rest of 2021, like you're on a break. And
Yeah.
I think this is really awesome because so often we get so caught up in like the hustle and the grind and more and more and more and next. And I even find myself in that. And I'm really excited to talk about like, what went into that decision-making process, because there may be some entrepreneurs right now, coaches, my primary audience listening, being like, I just need a break, but I don't know how to take a break and I don't know how to honor myself in that. So I'm curious, like, what was like the breaking point for you deciding that you needed to take a break?
Well, and that was the really cool thing is I've been down the road of burning myself out. I've been down the road that my body shut down because I didn't listen to every single cue. And I now can see that from, I was going to say a mile away. I can see that from a year away. And I want to be really, really clear that your break doesn't have to look like mine. Mine means I closed my business for probably about 5 months. That is, I am not telling anybody that's what you need to do in order to take a break. What I am saying though is being willing to be so true to yourself that every story you can come up with what anybody else is going to say about the way you take care of yourself needs to become irrelevant. And so that's where for me, there wasn't, and I'm really effing proud of myself for this. There wasn't a breaking point. I didn't let myself get to a breaking point. I got really clear and really honest with myself and said, I know what this looks like in 2 years if this is what I keep doing. And I don't want that. And I think we all have a story like something has to go wrong. Something has to break. What happened? What happened? Where did it go wrong? And to be able to look at what I was building and say, everything is going so right and I don't want it. And that's okay. And that's where, getting my spouse on board, if I had in a moment of stress or, anxiety or freaking out, been like, I'm giving it all up. Well, we're entrepreneurs. We do that like once a month.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster every day.
It's
the start of the day to the start of the day to the end of the day is way different.
Like how many times do you want to quit? And that's just like kind of part of the ride. Like,
we signed up.
You're on the roller coaster and you're like, oh my God, let me off the ride. And you're like, oh wait, this is fun. Hold on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to do that to myself. I wasn't going to make a massive decision like this when I'm in a, heightened state of anxiety. I needed for everything to be working out to get really clear. And that's where I was able to get my spouse on board, because otherwise he'd be like, I will never let you quit on yourself. I will never let you give up something that you really want. And so when I told him I had made this decision, he's like, let's go to dinner. Let's talk. I think this is not the road that you want to go down. And at the end of that dinner, he was like, okay, I'm seeing something different than what I expected. I'm seeing calm. I'm seeing clear. I'm seeing intuitively guided, and that you feel really good about this. This isn't something that you've like lost it. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, okay, do it. He was like, and he listens to me enough. He's like, I don't want to hear anything about wasted time, money, energy. I don't want you telling yourself any stories about, but what if this, and what is this person going to think? You feel good about this. So go for what feels good for you. If that means not doing this business for a while, then don't.
I think that's so powerful. Even I'm like sitting here listening, like reflecting back on my own language, being like, what was the breaking point? And like, I love that you mentioned that there doesn't have to be a breaking point. And I think it's really important to mention too, because you did in previous businesses, like have breaking points and burnout. So I would love to talk about that and like the contrast from like you being the 7-figure like entrepreneur, having your own law, like practice, all of that, to now being a business owner that is thriving, but deciding to say, hey, like I'm going to put me first. So what have been the shifts that you've had to make to go from that person to the person that you are today that's on a break?
Oh my gosh, massive. It's like, I don't know that I would recognize those two people as being the same person. When I was burning myself out in my law firm, I got 100% of my personal value and what I perceived to be my value in my organization. All of that came from how much I could give and how hard I could work. And if I was taking care of myself, I must not be that dedicated to my business. If I did put having fun and variety in my life and doing things I wanted to do, if I put that first, it meant I was neglecting my business. It meant I was being unfair to my employees by expecting them to do work while I was not. I had all of those stories. So it was go, 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 and not in like a painful way, but as in I was really proud of that. I thought that's what meant I was successful. So I have years then of people saying, are you all right? You don't look so good. You need to slow down. Why are you at work with pneumonia? And I was really, really proud of all that. And it wasn't until, our bodies are really smart. And mine was like, what's going to shut this bitch down? If her face doesn't work. And that's what happened. Middle of a Friday afternoon, I had a sudden onset of Bell's palsy where half of my face just went paralyzed. There's no self-reflection like that comes from like drooling and not being able to form words. so then in contrast, then it's several years of learning how to take care of myself and learning how to put me first and unraveling those really subtle belief systems that start with, like you mentioned, start with the language that we use, you know, where we value ourselves, what we really see that, like, do we have intrinsic value or do we have to earn our value as a human? Just really unraveling a lot of that. You know, you hear the word selfish a lot. That's one of them. It's, well, what does that even mean? And
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like no one ever tells a man that they're being selfish if they're out with their family or other things. So I'm like so fascinated by this because, like, when we look at the big picture and we look at, especially as female women entrepreneurs, if you identify as a woman or a female or what have you, like, where are these stories coming from? Because we're not born feeling unworthy. We're not born feeling like we need to work ourselves to the ground. Like, where do you think, especially because you worked in such a male dominated like industry, like being an attorney, where does that come from?
It is bred into us. I really think energetically it's bred into us to an extent that we are born believing some of it. I think we have like this generational programming, and that the language, everything we see, everything we observe, how we see other people valued, what we learn, you know, kind of those like root chakra things that make us feel safe and accepted and loved, what we learn we have to do to earn that from like toddler age, what we observe other people having to do, or what we observe other women doing because they believe they have to do those things to earn love, acceptance, success, you know, all of those things that make us feel good. And I feel like, and this has kind of been the path from stopping my burnout as an attorney through now, is questioning every single conclusion. And that's exhausting. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm like, I'll be here all day, honey.
It's efforted. I shouldn't say exhausting. It's efforted.
Yeah.
But as soon as you tell yourself, oh, I could never do that.
Back it up.
Why? Oh, that's selfish. Oh, that, like, those conclusions that you come to that put yourself as on stop when the road you're on is taking care of yourself and being happy and doing things that feel fun. When all those good, fun things get stopped, you've got to stop yourself on what your conclusion was and unravel that shit one thing at a time. Because it's not just you in your life. You know, it's not just you being what you feel like is selfish and you should serve more and you should give more of yourself. It's you're playing a role in what you're teaching your daughters, your friends' daughters, the random child you encounter. Every one of us is playing a role. The reason, like you were saying, the reason we believe all these things is the infinite people we've observed. And I don't want to be a part of I don't have daughters, but I don't want to be a part of anybody observing me having those behaviors. I want to be one person that's unraveling that.
It's going to take
I want to encourage everybody else to be one person that unravels that.
It's one of us at a time. And for so long, especially because I grew my business pretty fast. I would definitely pretty fast. Like in 2019, like literally had to started from the bottom. Now we're here. Like that's how it feels. And it's just this is such a timely conversation because over the last couple of days, I've had to make some decisions on how we're pivoting our marketing. And I'll just give you as a quick backstory, like for the longest time, like content, and I never really said content was king. I've never said that, but I spent a lot of times like feeling like I had to prove myself, especially as a Black woman, as an entrepreneur online, feeling like I've had to prove myself 10 times more. Now, is there some facts to that? Absolutely. Like, I'm not going to sit here and debate that, but also I recognize that I have said everything that I need to say, and I am no longer in the business of convincing people to like believe what I have to bring to the table because my results speak for themselves. And my really good friend, Katie, shout out Katie for listening to this, like had to like walk me off a ledge because I'm just like, I just need to create more content. I just need to show up more. I've already said everything I have to say. And now, like, you know, the transition is like, I do the things like the podcast or even going in my Facebook group or whatever because I want to, not because I have to, and not because my business has to rely on those things. So I'm in this like this new journey, and like I'm so happy Sarah's on a break because now we can do break things. Although I don't want to, I'm not in a position where I want to take a break from my business fully, but I'm in this like new era of like I want my business to feel different. I want it to show up different, and I want the energy that I'm bringing into it to feel different. And that starts with me doing things differently. So this is such a powerful conversation because I'm right there where it's like I was getting towards burnout a little bit. Just we've had our retreat, we've had a lot of growth. Like we have 7 team members now. Like I've literally built this thing from the ground up, and I'm like, either I'm going to get burnt out or I'm going to burn my business to the ground, or I'm going to figure something out. And it was not option 1 or 2. It's option 3. And I'm really excited to have Sarah and have you because you've taught me a lot about taking care of myself. Like I've never had, like I watched my mom work 2 and 3 jobs battling stage 3 breast cancer. Like I don't ever want to be at a spot where I have to work no matter what, or I'm dependent on one thing or like one, situation to take care of myself, which is why I started my business anyway. But I think what happens is we see this reality that's not really real online, where it's like the hustle, the grind, like keep going, the Gary V's. And like, it's so, I don't even like to use the word toxic, but it's toxic and it's damaging. And I, again, don't want to be a part of that because that is something that I started off my business with. And I definitely don't ever want to get back to it because it was not fun working 12 and 13-hour days.
And I believe, and I will always believe, well, I don't know what I'll always believe. That's a weird thing to say
right now. I will always believe that Letitia's
that's
the
a
best.
Weird thing to say. I like busted myself there. I was like, that's a weird thing to say. I think I'll always, sorry, I went on a tangent with that. I so strongly believe that entrepreneurship is the way that women take care of ourselves and our families and create the life that we want that's not dependent on somebody else. We have been shown loud and clear that the corporate system is not here for us, period.
Nope.
And the success that we can create for ourselves with as much ease as humanly possible, just living life, is in entrepreneurship. And we just have to be so intentional to not carry those beliefs into our entrepreneurship that says you have to hustle. And there's women that we really love and respect. There are women that, may be gurus to us that then will be, J-Lo was on an interview and she said, well, the reason I was successful when other women weren't is because I worked the hardest and I didn't take days off. And I did all this stuff. And
girl, I don't want that. You could keep that, honey.
I was dedicated. And I'm like, shit, I hate that she has that belief system because she's a freaking badass and that may have contributed towards where she got, but that's not the end conclusion. And what's her name? I think Robbins is her last name. Blonde lady that's just kind of like a self-help guru.
Melanie.
Mel Robbins.
Or Mel Robbins. Yeah.
She had like whatever she has Instagram ads paid on right now that's showing up in feed is like, no one's going to show up and make you do it. You have to work the hardest. No one's going to motivate you. And if you're not succeeding, it's because you're not working hard enough and you're not showing up for yourself, making yourself do it. And damn, I mean, yeah, you've got to work. You've got to put the work in. I'm not saying you can kick back and everything's just going to
manifest it all.
Just manifest it all,
I hate that shit.
Freaking flow. I know.
Hate it. Yeah.
Freaking flow.
We're not flowing around here.
Nobody's flowing here. And so you do have to do the work, and it doesn't have to be the hardest, most suffering, most struggle in order to get yourself ahead. And that's that distinction. I feel like any leaders that we look up to, anybody with really great messages, even if it is J-Lo or Mel Robbins, they're humans too, that were trained and have belief systems and have faults and failures. You got to take the gold, and then everything else that doesn't fit with what you want, they're not the end all be all. They can have really great messages that motivate you, and you can let go of the things that don't work for you.
Yeah. And I often challenge the people in my environment and even myself, like, is that really what I want to believe? Or am I just believing that because society tells me to believe it? Right. And it really boils down to trusting ourselves. And I think a lot of times there's so many voices where it starts to blend in with like what's true or what's false. Like, so I challenge y'all to question like everything, like question everything that's presented to you, because you have to be able to develop your own beliefs and rewrite the stories, which is what Sarah is doing right now, rewriting the freaking story. And I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
So that just made me think. So I get like data nerdy psychology sciencey.
Yes, tell us.
There's a phenomenon. I don't remember the name of it, but essentially, like when you look at the Olympics, for example, there's world records that will stand for a long time. And then one person will break the record, and then a bunch of people will break it. Well, sports specifically, like when we're talking about track or, racing, for example, it seems like it's physical. It seems like how much can the human body do? And so using that as an analogy for business, it seems like, people can cite data, people can cite economics, you can cite, you'll have a conversion rate of X%. So you have to reach X number of people because this is what the proven conversion rate is, using that
this
example.
is truth.
This is truth. So this is how many hours you have to work to be successful. This is how much you have to give to earn this much money. This is what is truth. But what we find in psychology, and this has been repeated over and over again, but, Olympic or sports records are a really great example, is as soon as one person breaks that truth, then it's like a floodgate that everybody else can come through. And when we can stop, like you're saying, question everything, say, is this what I want to be true for me? I think I can do something different. I think I can create something different. You create it, and then it's broken by everybody. And I don't have data in front of me, and that'd be boring if I did, but it's at this level that even it's almost like this cosmic thing, because the other people that break it don't always necessarily even know. It's not like, oh, I heard this other person broke the record and now I think I can do it. It like
just happens.
Some kind of like cosmic connection that this collectively believed truth gets broken, and like it opened a portal.
That's interesting.
Open all the freaking portals.
I was going to say, I feel like I've noticed that where it goes like these records, and then all of a sudden they're like boom, boom, boom. Like even thinking back to high school, like you'd see the records on like in the gym, and then you see like 3, 4, 5 years in a row where new people or even the same person's breaking it over and over again. So that's like really fascinating. I never thought about that.
It's really cool the way, and now I'm going to nerd out and go back into the research on that. But all of that to say, like, things are true because you've reinforced them and other people have reinforced them for you. And that's where I love that you were saying, Latisse, because like I said at the beginning, because a break works for me, because I've so intentionally set up the way I restructured my role as an attorney, the way I structured my business, I very intentionally set it all up that I can do whatever the hell I want.
Whenever you want.
Right now, it happens to be taking a break from my consulting business. But you don't have, I'm not saying this is a one road thing.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it might just be, you need to relook at all these conclusions that you've piled up on, this is what I have to do for my business to succeed, and look at every one of them and be like, how many of these do I want to keep?
And how many do I want to get rid of? And I've done a lot of that this week, right? And I'm just talking businesses in general, but as a whole, like you have to look at that in your relationships, look at that and how you're showing up. If you say you want one thing and another thing's happening in your health or your friendships or the lifestyle that you're living, there's so many areas of our lives that we need to challenge the norm. We need to challenge what we actually like, what people are telling us to believe versus what we actually believe. And I have found for me the best way, and I would love to know like how you kind of like in what environment or situation were you in when you came to like, I need to take a break. But for me specifically, it comes from saying it out loud, being like, I feel like something can change or something needs to change. Or even this week, I said, my business feels really hard right now. I don't want this to feel hard anymore. And then instantly, I like in my gut, I knew what needed to change. And here's the thing, y'all. The universe, I don't know if y'all believe in universe, God, spirit, whatever. But in this instance, for me, the universe has been testing me the last 3 months since like about my retreat, been testing the shit out of me. And the test is to see like, am I actually in like going to commit to what I really, really want? Or am I going to go back and be small and take the safe route? And I've decided that I'm not going to take the quote unquote safe route. I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to do it come hell or high water. And this last week specifically has been like the confirmation. And like, I feel like I'm out of the testing phase, and like, you know, the growth that I've been wanting and the way that I've been wanting it is here, including the lifestyle that I want, because I want to take more vacations. So, so that's like how I get to my conclusions. And I have to get off my phone. I have to get rid of the distractions and just get centered. How about you, Sarah? How do you kind of get to your conclusions?
It's all those things you just said. It's feeling in, for me, it's really listening to my intuitive voice. And that is near impossible to decipher when, like you're saying, the distractions, when you are eliciting so much outside information, asking 7 people what their opinion is on a decision that you're going to make, asking, Googling, what should I, looking to the people that you look up to, maybe your mentors, your, examples in business of people that you want to create similar success to them. But when it's decision time, you first go to look at their businesses and see exactly how they've done things. It is really, really challenging. It's like one at a time, you're pulling the plug on your own intuition and your own conclusions when you're looking outside. So it becomes really challenging to decipher. For me, it's quitting doing that, which it's a little addictive, but it's like, as soon as you want to text that friend and say, what do you think about me doing this? Being like, no,
it's hard. It's hard as shit. It's like, I want everybody's opinion that I value and trust, but everybody's opinion isn't the right decision for you.
And not that they don't have they have valuable opinions. They do.
Absolutely.
Based on their circumstances and their experiences
and their beliefs,
what they want for themselves,
and what they may even want for you,
what they want for you. And this is where I always say, like, your mom is the worst person to get business advice from. Even if you have like a crazy supportive mom and no toxic crap at all, and your mom's always been like badass there to cheer you on, she wants you to be safe. Yeah. She wants you to not endure hardships. Same with your best friend and your partner. And so all these people have like all these buckets of things that don't apply to you. And with the best intentions, they're going to give you advice that doesn't apply to you. I learned several years ago, just through practice, how to decipher intuition from like kind of thinking brain. And it goes into how it feels in my body. And it just takes daily practice and kind of journaling and getting into your body. And once I've kind of plugged everything back in where I am asking myself and getting intuitive before I'm asking the outside world for advice, I just have to feel where it's coming from. So anxious thoughts, kind of grasping, and kind of the whole bucket of that hustle culture feels like kind of electric in my forehead. Now that feels good sometimes.
You're like,
that's kind of fun sometimes.
You're like, this is a little high.
And I know what it is. And when I'm asking for intuitive guidance, like, universe, divine, speak to me, what is true and right for me, it's like a whoosh through my chest and up. It'll go like up and behind my ears. And I've just had a whole lot of forehead buzzing going on lately. And I had to breathe through that and get to the whoosh for the right answer for me. And you have to be so certain in that then when you have your conclusion and you present it to the outside world, they, one, can see you are so certain there's nothing for them to say other than support you. And 2, for the people that have their own personal reactions, because it's all about them and their bucket, it doesn't make you question a thing.
Absolute
I've been
certainty.
floored at the level of support I've received. How many times people have said congratulations when I said I'm closing my program? And I had one person go, "Oh my God, I want to be supportive for you right now, but I don't know how. I couldn't imagine doing that in my business."
And that's okay
And
for you.
and that's okay. I'm not asking anyone else to do what I'm doing unless your intuitive voice says that's what you need.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if any of y'all are at a stage in your business or life and you're like, what should I do next? You got to get into the body, because the body is going to tell you. If y'all haven't read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it's a really good book. I have not read it in its entirety, but I've heard it's amazing. So y'all need to check that out.
And Letice, I think you're such a great example of it doesn't have to be, oh, look at Sarah. She decided to put her business on hold. That's what I have to do. It's whatever is no. But it's whatever is next for you. You know what? I thought I had to be creating content. You're saying I thought I had to be creating content every day. And you're like, oh, that's weird.
I don't want to do this.
Weird belief. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Because there's people that are out that are doing what I want. So I'm just going to do what I want and be okay with that. And I think the thing too, for me, at least, it's boiled down to like, I have this big fear of like losing face and like being like so hardcore judged because I've worked so hard. Right. And a lot of people work really hard. So I'm not taking that away from anyone, but I've worked, in my opinion, worked very hard to get to where I've gotten from basically rock bottom up in just a couple of years. And I get nervous, that I'm like, well, what are people going to say? Or what are people going to think? So y'all just know that at every level, you could be making your first $5 or making your first 5 million. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel these thoughts. They're going to come up for you and you're going to have to make decisions. And it's getting into certainty, like you said, Sarah, of like not allowing anybody else's opinions or thoughts to waver you. Like you have to be 100% certain. And sometimes it's scary when you make a decision and there are people that aren't going to agree with you or not going to like what you're doing about your life, but you have to move. Because when I decided to jump into entrepreneurship and quit my 6-figure job, right? And everybody's like, that's so like, why would you do that? Like, I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but my really good friend was like, that's so stupid. Why would you do that? And look, and this person's like been congratulating me up and down ever since my success. So imagine if I would have listened to that voice back then, because I had made the decision. I was so certain. Resignation letter was typed up, all of it, the whole 9 yards. And I made the decision. I just happened to tell this person and they weren't supportive. Like I imagine like, where would I be if I would have listened to that voice? Not here, not on this podcast. I'd be sitting behind a desk, miserable, seriously. So it's about having certainty. And I think that's really what it boils down to. It's like having that certainty and being confident that you know best for you.
Because everybody else, like your friend, she wasn't trying to be unsupportive. Sorry.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to be unsupportive. His response was 100% about him. It was his own fear. It was, because immediately we hear somebody doing something, we're very self-centered. Like that's just what we are as humans. Whether you think you're being unselfish or not, we're very self-centered. And that's not it's not bad. It's how we're wired.
Made. Yeah.
And so his response, what he did was he immediately related himself to quitting his job and starting his own business. And that sounded ridiculous and terrifying to him. So he immediately projected that on you. It's not about you. It's anything anybody else tells you. It's really not about you.
It's not. And that is the biggest lesson I've learned over the last couple of years. It's like, it's not. Even when, I see other people making decisions that I wouldn't make, I'm not going to go be like, oh, that's a terrible decision. You shouldn't do that. Because I already know that's me trying to keep them safe or vice versa. So we also have to check ourselves, right? I could have easily told Sarah, oh my God, you're just giving up on yourself or blah, blah, blah. For one, I know Sarah's like the depths of her heart. So I knew that it was such an amazing decision for her. But regardless of what I thought, like it was a decision that she needed to make for her. And look where you are now. You get to spend the next 5 months just like doing yoga and all the great things. Today's episode is sponsored by our signature group coaching program. Coaches tell me all the time, I'm ready for freedom in my coaching business. One-to-one coaching has been fun, but I'm ready for what's next. While there is a time and a place for courses in one-to-one coaching, when you're looking to scale past those coveted 10K months, an evergreen group coaching program is absolutely necessary. When I launched my evergreen group coaching program in 2019, It literally changed my entire life and business. Why? Because I was no longer capped on time. I took my expertise, packaged it up, and sold it one to many every single day of the week. I finally got the real freedom that I've been looking for and the bank account too. This new way of coaching created massive leverage and massive impact. If you're anything like me, your freedom and impact is non-negotiable. This is exactly why I want to invite you to apply for the program. Just for applying, I also want to send you over a free exclusive advanced training I recently created about the 3-part framework to consistent 5 to 6 figure months with a high ticket group coaching program. This training is for coaches who are ready to create a group coaching program, attract clients on autopilot, and create a business that you truly love. It's for you, even if you have a small audience of never sold group coaching before. It takes just 2 minutes to apply. Head on over to get all the details. What do you plan on actually doing the next 5 months? That's what I also want to hear, because I'm excited for you.
This is so fun. So it happened to be the week I made this decision, I had like 5 networking events, and I'm like, I'm still going to all of them. I should have worked on my speech a little bit, because the first one, it just had a mixed bag of people and I hadn't really thought it through. So when the posed question was, what do you do, Sarah? And I said, whatever the hell I want. The room didn't know me. So it wasn't like received like, this bitch.
Who is this?
Who is this? Tell her to shut up next. But I happened to then be in a room with a woman who made Forbes top 30 under 30 women in the US that had an amazing, successful business. And literally she and I are sitting in a group at the same time. And we're like, we got to catch up. Like, listen, what you think you know about me, you don't know. We need to catch up. And she said it at the same time I did. She's like, I'm closing my business. And wow. I still haven't caught up with her, so I don't have any more information at the moment. But I always tell long stories behind really simple answers. You had said, what are you going to do with the next 5 months? And that's where she was sitting there and she was like, I've got to figure this out. She was like, it's not, the money's great because my business was crazy successful. Everything went great, but I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with myself. How are you figuring out what you're going to do with yourself? And I'm like, I'm not right now. I'm just not. I don't have to know. I don't have to have a conclusion. And any conclusion I could brain up right now. I mean, I love thinking through stuff. I could come up with 50 plans, but intuitively I'm screaming, there's nothing for me to know right now. There's nothing for me to figure out right now. I'm going to keep the things that feel fun, like my podcast. I'm going to rebrand it in a little bit different way where it's just fun for me. And then I'll see.
Hopefully I'm a part of the plan.
You're always a part of the plan.
More brunch.
Lots of brunch. I feel like when we do that to ourselves in business also, there's kind of along the same lines of everything else we've talked about on here is, we can conjure up whatever we've already experienced and kind of what we witness other people do, kind of that whole same message. We can think up anything that we've already seen. I don't want to do anything I've already seen. And if I try to figure it out now, I'm going to tunnel vision. I'm going to narrow my possibilities like this. And if I just wait and see what, I almost said flows through to me. I didn't mean it. what comes through to me. Now I have an infinite group of possibilities. Now I have like literally anything can happen. And not that it's just going to manifest. That's why I stopped myself with the word flow, because it's not like it's going to manifest and just like come to life. I'm still going to have to put effort towards whatever this thing is. I'm still going to have to work for it. It's still going to be hard sometimes. I'm still going to want to quit that sometimes, but it's going to be the right thing. And I'm going to have every ounce of energy and everything I need to do that thing. But if I figure it out, if I brain it up, there's no way it's going to be right.
Yeah, it's taking that same energy. It's just taking that same energy and dumping it into a different cup. Like, that's not what we want. Like, we don't want that. We want something different. And you can't get that by just, like you said, thinking it up and writing out a script for it. Like, you're at this point in your life where there's no script, just action.
It could be really, really scary, or it could be really fun. And
It could be the
I'm
best
picking
damn
fun.
thing ever.
Yeah.
The best damn
And
thing ever.
like you talked about what will other people think. There are a few people, yourself included, that I was very curious what your response would be.
Aw.
I wasn't worried. There's one person, one of those three, I still don't have their response, which it's interesting. But I was very curious. And the certainty came through when I knew it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I value your input. I value your advice. I value anything you have to say to me. And I could make this choice without it being dependent on you. And I actually really needed that. How many times did I start putting a text together that said, hey, I'm about to make a really big decision and we need to talk. And then I was like, I am not doing that to myself. She will love me. She loves me. She will love me no matter what I do. And I knew that, I don't know, I knew that the role that you played, that you could talk me any direction that you thought I needed to be talked. You could talk me into keeping building my business in a different way. You could talk me through anything you thought I wanted you to talk me through. And I also trusted that if I just made this decision because I knew it to be right, you'd be like, that's fucking awesome.
And that's exactly what happened. And I was like, more brunch.
More brunch.
I literally was so pumped. It took me all day to get back to. I was like, oh, she probably thinks I'm like trying to think of a response, but it was like nuts that day. And I was like I had went out with another friend for dinner and like crazy busy calls.
Well, that was
and
your
all
first
that.
mistake. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. And then I finally got back to her like at like 9 p.m. Cause when you messaged me, you were at the gym and I was listening to a podcast. I tried to really just focus. And then just the day got a hold of me. And then I was like, I have to message Sarah back because I'm so excited for her. And I didn't give you my opinion. I gave you my opinion that I was excited for you. I guess that's an opinion, but I was just like, this is badass. Like I don't know anybody close to me that's made this bold of a decision to say, I'm going to actually operate from a place that I want. Like that goes against the grain, because you were like launching a new program. You had some new people in already. And you were just like,
I just launched it. It was good to go.
Yeah. People in, paid up and full. And you're like, this is not what I want right now. And I was just like, hell yeah, I love it. Like, and it just gives me the confidence that if there's anything that I want to do, like in my business that's against the grain, I can do it. Not that I needed you to do it first, but I'm just like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. And I'm really pumped for you.
But if I can play any role in the world of being that example, being that first record breaker that says, who cares? You can do it.
And you're not going to die.
This person, I'm not going to die. I still lived. And it doesn't matter if this person is like, oh, I bet she actually wasn't that successful. That was my biggest fear when I restructured my law practice, because I was so all in and we were so big and we had so many new clients. When I took it down to this, I thought all the whispers were going to be, she must have not been successful. Actually, there were rumors going around that we had gone bankrupt. And that scared me. I was like trying to quash out these rumors frantically. And that big shift, that huge contrast from then to now is I'm like, I don't care.
I'm just soaking it all in. I need that I don't care energy. I'm getting there. But it's pretty really powerful to watch.
And it's care. I think the goal is carefree, not careless.
Right, exactly. Like, I'm just gonna live my life regardless. And here's the thing I've noticed too, before I ask you the question I love to ask all of our guests. Here's what I've noticed. When you think about like virality on social media, or when you think about people talking about people and all the things, it lasts for such a short like piece of time. Before that, your old news, like yesterday, like ain't nobody reading yesterday's news. Everybody's reading today's news, and then so on and so forth. So this isn't to say like, I think we say we don't care. Like for me, I do care, but I'm getting to a place where, like you said, I'm more carefree. Like, yeah, sometimes things may sting, but at the end of the day, like I know we are selfish human beings and we deeply don't care about somebody else that much. Like somebody else's like how they're operating and moving in their life. So that has been like such a big breakthrough for me this year specifically, because I have had people do some things that I'm not used to seeing, but that all comes with like the breakthrough and something that I was so scared of people maybe not talking like as highly of me as I wanted. I've recognized like, well, maybe there's some jealousy there's some other things, but I know that what I came here to do is what I'm doing today, whether anybody else likes it or not, because I have a lot of people to serve and I have to serve myself first through that. And yeah, that's my truth.
And so long as you're not, all of this, I thought it would go unsaid, but now I'm saying it. If you're actively screwing people over, that's not the same thing that we're talking about here.
Right.
If you are contributing to the wrongs in society, that is not carefree. That's you being an asshole.
You are not excused.
You are not excused. So it's not, if I had, for example, closed my program and kept everybody's money, that'd be really screwed up. And that wouldn't be me following my intuitive guidance. That would be me being a thieving asshole.
Yeah.
So you don't get to actively screw people over. You kind of check yourself if you're like, no, I have to take care of me first. Well, if taking care of you means you have your foot on somebody else, you're wrong. But when taking care of you might disappoint people because they have other expectations of you and, means you're setting boundaries and means that you are creating the healthiest person for yourself. That's the carefree, and that's what you deserve to have.
So good. Y'all, if y'all haven't taken any notes, you need to go back and listen to this podcast and take more notes because there are so many, just like so many gold nuggets. So I have 2 questions for you as we wrap up, Sarah. The first question is that I love to ask everyone, what's been the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I feel like I've known the answer to this question until like you just asked. The best piece of advice I've ever received is that the other people and things in your life aren't yours. So your kids are not yours. They're their own people. Your partner or spouse is not yours. They're their own person. And you are not anybody's. You're yours. And when you watch your language on how often you use the word my, you can really detach a lot of challenging things in relationships.
Ooh, snatch our edges, Sarah. Ooh-wee. That's so good. I see. That's really good. Where can everybody find you on social media, or is social media on a break too?
No, I haven't done any. I decided to take a couple weeks, but I'll be back. So on Instagram, pretty much everything's on Instagram at Sarah Dawn ESQ. And you can see all the things that I have had to say in the past and in the future.
I love it. We'll make sure to get all that in the show notes. What a fabulous episode, y'all. What I've learned the most today is take a break, whether people care or not, because it's not about them, it's about you. And I'm just so proud of how bold you have been. And I'm just honored to be your friend, just off of the internet and now in real life. So I'm
now real life besties. I love you, Latisse. Thanks for having this chat with me.
Absolutely. Hey, if you loved today's episode, I would love if you took a quick second to leave a rating and a review. It truly means the world to me and helps spread the message to coaches just like you who are ready to go to the next level in their business. And if you're ready to start scaling your online coaching business, I want to take the time to invite you to apply. This is our exclusive high-level group coaching program for coaches ready to create and launch a signature group coaching program. This program would help you finally scale past those coveted 10K months and create a scalable business model for years to come. Head on over to submit your application and get all the details. You don't want to miss it.